Welcome to the Sleepy Facts universe. Tonight, we drift on the slowest, deepest currents of all, the gentle, monumental pulse of the planet itself. We will explore the most relaxing facts about geology, not as a lesson, but as a lullaby, a reminder that the ground beneath you is both ancient and endlessly patient. So, settle in, and let the weight of your body be held by the same forces that cradle mountains. Breathe in and breathe out. Consider the bedrock, that solid, unyielding foundation we build upon. But in the grand, languid language of geology, even bedrock is fluid. It moves not in minutes or years, but in epochs. Continents drift like sleepy giants on a bed of molten stone, wandering inches across lifetimes. The very ground you rest upon is on a journey, so slow and gradual that its motion is a form of stillness, a testament to patience. Think of a single smooth stone you might find in a riverbed, its curves, its cool, polished surface. That stone began as a jagged fragment, a sharp edge broken from a larger hole. For centuries, perhaps millennia, that profound, resonant heat from the planet's core, it finds its way to the surface not in violent bursts, but often in the most tranquil of expressions. Think of the hot spring, a pool of water, heated from below, rising through countless layers of rock, being filtered and purified on its long journey upward. It emerges into the daylight as steam and mineral-rich warmth, a natural bath that has soothed weary beings for millennia. This water carries within it a memory of fire, transformed into comfort, a geological kindness. And then, there is the igneous rock born of that heat. Granite. It forms deep within the Earth's crust, where molten material cools with incredible slowness. This leisurely pace allows beautiful, interlocking crystals to grow, specks of mica that catch the light, pale quartz, dark hornblende. The stunning pattern in a granite countertop is not a design applied by hand. It is a portrait of deep time and patient cooling, a story of liquid stone taking its time to find a solid, peaceful form. Consider the very simplicity of a pebble. To hold one is to hold a piece of a much larger story, now made small and smooth for your hand. Geologists have a lovely term for the study of such rocks: petrology. The word itself comes from the Greek petra, meaning rock, and logia, meaning study. But if we listen to it more softly, it sounds almost like the story of stone. Every pebble has a story, a journey from a mountainside, along a river to a shore. It is a story that requires no telling, only holding. Now let your mind wander to the crystal. A crystal is a structure where atoms arrange themselves in a perfectly repeating pattern, over and over, extending in all directions. This order emerges from chaos, a silent, mathematical poem written in mineral form. The growth of a crystal in a hidden cavity or from a cooling magma is the ultimate act of quiet organization. It is nature finding harmony, a stable, repeating rhythm, much like the steady, repeating rhythm of your own breath as you drift deeper into relaxation. One of the most common minerals on our planet's surface is quartz, clear, humble quartz. It has a gentle, hidden property. When squeezed, it generates a tiny electrical charge. This is called piezoelectricity. It means that the very pressure of the Earth's movements, the slow tectonic shifts, can cause these crystals to whisper with invisible energy. It's a reminder that even apparent stillness contains a potential for soft, silent communication, a hidden vibration within the calm. So as you lie here, imagine the slow crystallization of thought. Let each worry, each thought of the day, find its own perfect, symmetrical place in a larger, quiet structure. There is no need to force it. Like atoms in a cooling solution, they will naturally arrange, settle, into a state of peaceful, ordered rest. The planet's deep rhythms are holding you. The patient story of stone is all around you. And here in the dark, your own consciousness can be like a crystal, growing slowly, peacefully, in its own perfect pattern. This hidden vibration within the calm, it echoes in the most monumental of ways, yet expressed with a silence that spans ages. Consider the transformation of ancient ocean floors, the slow, relentless journey of the tectonic plate, carrying its cargo of seabed downward into the mantle. There, under immense pressure and heat, the very composition of the rock changes. Minerals alter their form, releasing water, transforming into new, denser stone. It is a process of profound recycling, a rebirth on a scale we can scarcely perceive. The ocean floor becomes the womb of new continents. Nothing is lost. Everything is simply changed, over and over again in a cycle as slow as it is eternal. This brings us to the concept of deep time. It is a perspective that can quiet the mind like nothing else. Human history, with all its events and eras, is but the thinnest layer of dust on the cover of an immense geological tome. The rise and fall of dynasties, the birth of nations, these are fleeting moments in the lifetime of a single mountain range. To contemplate deep time is to feel the small, gentle weight of your own existence, and to find not insignificance, but profound relief. Your worries, your hopes, your entire life is held within a single serene breath of the planet. Now let us think about the humble clay. Found in riverbanks and quiet valleys, it is soft, malleable, and cool to the touch. Geologically, clay is the ultimate product of patience. It is created from the gradual chemical weathering of rock, feldspar crystals over millennia, being broken down by the gentle, persistent touch of slightly acidic rainwater. The rock doesn't shatter. It tenderly dissolves into particles so fine they become plastic and smooth. This is not destruction, but a meticulous refinement. From the hard, crystalline structure of granite comes the soft, yielding nature of clay, ready to be shaped by the gentlest of hands. There is a peace in the stability of certain landscapes, the vast, flat expanse of a sedimentary plain, for instance. It speaks of a long, quiet period of deposition, a time when the earth was not heaving upward or splitting apart, but was instead a receptive basin, calmly collecting the gentle rain of silt and sand from distant, eroding hills. It is a geological record of tranquility, a testament to epochs where the dominant force was not violence, but acceptance, a slow, continuous act of being filled, until the basin itself became a solid, level plain, a foundation for prairies, for farms, for serene, uninterrupted horizons. As you rest, you can imagine your mind as such a basin, not empty, but receptive. Let the thoughts of the day be like those fine silt particles. Allow them to drift down through the quiet waters of your awareness and settle onto the soft bottom. There is no need to stir them up. There is only the gentle, continuous process of deposition, layer upon layer of experience, slowly settling into a peaceful, stratified past. The plane of your consciousness becomes wide, calm, and ready for a deep, restorative night. That wide, calm plane of the mind can so at times be visited by soft, rhythmic waves, not of water, but of sand. Imagine a desert, not as a harsh, barren place, but as a landscape of profound silence and serene geometry. Here the wind takes on the role of the sculptor. It lifts individual grains, each one a tiny fragment of quartz weathered from distant rock, and carries them in a gentle, whispering flow. These grains eventually come to rest, accumulating into dunes. A sand dune is not a static hill. It is a slow-moving wave of earth, a gentle giant that migrates, grain by grain, across the bedrock. The windward side of a dune presents a gradual, sloping face. Each grain is pushed up this long, easy incline. Then, at the crest, it tumbles down the steeper, sheltered slip face. This is how a dune walks. It is a patient, rhythmic procession, a slow dance measured in years per mile. The entire dune moves while appearing perfectly still to the casual glance, a beautiful lesson in the unseen momentum of gentle, persistent forces. There is a scientific term for the steepest angle at which loose material can rest without collapsing. It is called the angle of repose. For dry sand, this angle is about 34 degrees. It is nature's preferred slope for stability. A hillside of loose sand will automatically find this angle, this perfect balance between the pull of gravity and the friction between grains. It is a slope of equilibrium, a shape of rest. Your own body, nestled into your bed, has also found its unique angle of repose, a geometry of comfort where tension can finally slide away. Within the sandstone formed from ancient dunes, we can often see beautiful patterns called cross-bedding. These are delicate, diagonal lines preserved in the stone. They are the fossilized record of those ancient slip faces, the frozen moment of sand avalanches that occurred millions of years ago. To look at cross-bedding is to read a single tranquil page from a desert's diary, a story of a gentle wind, a drifting dune, and a soft collapse that became eternal. Let the rhythm of a dune's migration become the rhythm of your breathing, the slow, steady inhalation, like grains gathering on the windward slope, the soft, releasing exhale, like the gentle avalanche down the slip face. Each breath a tiny, peaceful journey, each cycle moving you imperceptibly closer to a deep and settled rest, grain by grain, breath by breath, in the silent desert of the night. This natural balance, this angle of repose, is mirrored in far grander yet invisible ways within the Earth's very structure. There is a principle known as isostasy. Imagine the planet's crust not as a rigid shell, but as a series of immense floating rafts made of rock, resting upon a denser, more malleable layer beneath. A massive mountain range, with its deep roots plunging into the mantle, is like a thick piece of wood floating in water. It rides high, but its bulk extends far below. When erosion wears away a mountain over millions of years, scraping off its peaks and carrying the sediment to the sea, something remarkable happens. The crust, now lighter, begins to rise. Very, very slowly, it adjusts upward, seeking a new balance. Conversely, where sediment piles thickly on the ocean floor, the crust there gently sags under the new weight. This is not a dramatic rupture. It is the Earth's crust settling into a new position of equilibrium over epochs. A slow, graceful rebound, a sigh of stone, finding its comfort once more. Think of the basaltic columns found at places like the Giant's Causeway or Devil's Postpile. These astonishing geometric forms, often hexagonal, arise not from intelligent design, but from the peaceful physics of cooling. As a thick layer of molten lava loses its heat, it contracts. This contraction creates a pattern of sea. Racks, much like the network of cracks that form in drying mud. But because the cooling happens steadily and from the top down, the cracks propagate downward, forming these incredible pillaring shapes. It is a slow momentum fracture, a deliberate and orderly response to the loss of fire. Chaos resolving into perfect resting columns. There is a mineral called gypsum. Under the right conditions, deep in a silent cave, it can form the most delicate of all geological structures, selenite crystals. Some grow into long, transparent shafts known as satin spar. They feel cool and smooth, and they bend light into soft, pearlescent ribbons. These crystals form not from heat, but from the patient evaporation of mineral-rich water in absolute stillness. Each perfect form is a gift of quiet and time, where the only movement is the almost imperceptible retreat of water molecules into the cave's air, leaving behind a lattice of exquisite beauty. So, as you lie here, feel your own isostatic adjustment. With every worry released, every thought allowed to drift away to the sea of forgetting, your spirit becomes lighter. And in that lightness, there is a gentle upward buoyancy, a soft rebound of peace. Let the structure of your rest be like those basaltic columns, orderly, strong, and formed from the gradual cooling of the day's heat. Let your mind be a cave where only serene, crystalline thoughts are left behind, formed in stillness, transparent and beautiful. The planet is adjusting beneath you. You are adjusting within yourself. All is finding its balance in the deep, dark quiet, these hidden reserves of crystalline beauty, formed in stillness, lead us to consider another kind of hidden reservoir. Deep beneath the surface, often nestled within layers of porous sandstone or fractured limestone, lie aquifers. These are not lakes in the conventional sense, but vast three-dimensional onal sponges of rock, saturated with water that has seeped down from the surface over centuries. This water moves not with the rushing enthusiasm of a river, but with a lethargic creeping pace. It filters through minute pores and tiny fractures, being cleaned and cooled by its long journey through the earth. This groundwater exists in a state of suspended journey. A single drop might travel a mile in 1,000 years. It is the definition of patience, a slow percolation through the dark, unseen labyrinth of the planet's crust. It is a reminder that nourishment can come from the most gradual of processes, that what is essential often flows silently, out of sight, in a timeless drift. Now, picture a lone, large boulder sitting in the middle of a field or a forest, composed of a rock type entirely different from the bedrock beneath it. This is a glacial erratic. It is a traveler, carried from a distant mountain range by the slow, inexorable flow of a glacier, a river of ice that moved inches per day. When the glacier finally melted away, it left this solitary stone as a testament to its journey, a silent souvenir from a faraway land. The erratic does not belong where it sits, and yet it is perfectly at home. It is a monument to being gently carried to a new place of rest. Within the quiet, muddy bottoms of ancient lakes, we find one of geology's most serene calendars, varves. Each varve is a paired layer of sediment, a thin, dark band of silt laid down in the winter, and a thicker, lighter band of coarser material deposited in the summer. One pair represents a single year. By counting varves, scientists can read time in delicate, striped pages. It is a record not of catastrophe, but of gentle, seasonal rhythm, the slow, annual sigh of a lake settling into stillness again and again. As you rest tonight, you can imagine your own deep aquifer, a place within you where nourishing thoughts percolate slowly, filtered clear of the day's residue. You can picture any burden you carry as a glacial erratic, a weight that was transported from a distant time, now simply resting, out of place perhaps, but no longer moving. And your breathing can become as regular and calm as the deposition of varves, a dark layer of exhale, a light layer of inhale, marking the peaceful, uneventful passage of time in the quiet lake of your consciousness. There is no need to go anywhere. The journey is over. Now, there is only the gentle, layered accumulation of rest. This layered accumulation of rest can sometimes contain a profound and peaceful silence between the layers. In geology, there is a concept known as an unconformity. It is not a rock, but a relationship, a story told in absence. It occurs where layers of rock that should chronologically follow one another are instead separated by a vast gap in time, a missing chapter. Imagine a layer of ancient sedimentary rock, perhaps the very varves we thought of, now turned to stone. Upon its hard, flat surface lie the weathered remains of mountains that have risen and completely vanished to dust over tens of millions of years. And upon that weathered surface, a new layer of young sandstone finally settles. The unconformity is that buried landscape of quiet erosion. It is the tangible record of a long, uneventful period when nothing was deposited, but much was gently taken away. It is a testament to time that left no record except its passing, a silent conversation between deep past and more recent past. This idea invites us to consider the beauty of the missing chapter, the value of the gap. In our own lives, we often feel pressured to have a continuous, unbroken narrative. But the earth itself holds eons of unrecorded peace, times of stability so prolonged and uneventful that all they left behind was a smooth, flat surface. There is no failure in that. There is only a different kind of existence, one of calm subduction, of gentle leveling, of quiet being. Now, let's think of a different kind of preservation. The fossil, not the dramatic skeleton of a giant creature, but something smaller, the perfect impression of a fern frond in shale, a single leaf that fell into soft mud in a carboniferous forest 300 million years ago. The organic material is long gone, replaced molecule by stone. What remains is a detailed cast, a memory in mineral. The pressure of the layers above acted not as a destroyer, but as a sculptor, pressing that delicate form into eternity. It is a gentle touch preserved across ages. As you drift, you can imagine the unconformities in your own story. The gaps between events, the quiet times that felt uneventful, the periods of gentle erosion where old feelings slowly wore away. These are not empty spaces. They are the foundational landscapes upon which your present moment rests. And you can think of your peaceful memories like those fern fossils, not as the living, breathing moment itself, but as its perfect, serene impression, held safely in the stone of your mind, under the gentle, preserving pressure of time. There is no need to fill the silence. The gaps have a geology all their own. They are the smooth, comfortable spaces where the rock of your consciousness simply rested. From those quiet gaps, we can descend into one of the Earth's most serene spaces, the limestone cavern, formed not by violent rupture, but by the patient, persistent persuasion of slightly acidic water. Rainwater, having absorbed carbon dioxide from the soil, becomes a weak carbonic acid. Over millennia, this water seeps through cracks in the limestone bedrock, dissolving the rock molecule by molecule, carving out vast dark chambers in absolute silence. Within this eternal darkness, the water continues its work, now in reverse. As a droplet emerges from the cavern ceiling, it hangs for a moment, releasing a tiny molecule of dissolved calcite back into the air. This infinitesimal residue remains, building upon itself, year after century after millennium, growing downward as a stalactite. On the floor below, where the droplet lands, another deposit grows upward as a stalagmite. This is the slowest kind of conversation, a dialogue conducted in single, crystallizing syllables over hundreds of thousands of years. It is the architecture of patience. The very atmosphere of such a cavern is a lesson in stillness. The air is often perfectly still, with a constant, cool humidity. The temperature remains nearly the same, day after day, century after century. It is a world removed from the weather of the surface, from the agitation of winds and the cycling of seasons. It exists in a state of profound climatic equilibrium. A breath here would hardly stir the air. It is a sanctuary of constancy, where change is measured in the growth of a stone ribbon or the deepening of a silent pool. This constancy allows for the most delicate formations, helictites, those whimsical, twisting speleothems that seem to defy gravity, grow as water moves through microscopic channels within the existing crystal structure, pushing new calcite out from the side in a slow, crooked dance. They are evidence that even in the deepest calm there is a gentle, curious energy, a desire to explore form in the most gradual, delicate way imaginable. Leaving the cavern's intimate darkness, we can expand our view to a much broader yet equally patient phenomenon. The continental shelf, that gently sloping plain that extends from the shoreline into the ocean's depths. This is not a cliff edge, but a gradual, subdued transition. It is composed of sediments that have traveled from the heart of continents, delivered by rivers over eons, now resting in the shallow sun-drenched waters. This submerged plain is a landscape of gentle accumulation. The energy here is soft. Waves have lost their crashing force far above on the shoreline. Currents are mild. It is a place where life and geology intertwine softly, where shells of countless tiny creatures contribute their calcite to the sediment, and where layers of organic matter mix with silt to form future rocks. The shelf is a buffer zone, a wide, quiet threshold between the vivid drama of the land and the profound, weighty silence of the abyssal plain. Beneath that shelf, the seafloor slopes ever so gently downward, eventually giving way to the abyssal plain. This is the flattest, most featureless landscape on Earth, mile upon mile of soft, fine sediment, a uniform layer of mud and microscopic skeletons that has settled like a blanket over the basaltic ocean crust. It is a world of immense pressure and permanent twilight, where disturbances are rare and gentle. The occasional falling of a sediment cloud, triggered by a distant tremor, is like a slow-motion avalanche in a dream. This plain is so vast and flat that it bends the very curvature of the earth. It is a place where one could theoretically walk in a straight line for thousands of miles and encounter less topographic change than on a calm, grassy field. It is the geological equivalent of a deep, sustained note, a baseline of tranquility upon which the higher melodies of mountains and continents are placed. The material that makes up this vast, flat plain often originates in a state of beautiful suspension. In the sunlit waters above, microscopic plankton called coccolithophores build intricate, wheel-like shells from calcite. When they die, these exquisite, tiny skeletons sink. This descent is not a fall, but a drift, a leisure journey through the water column that can take weeks to complete. A final slow dance downward through the blue. This constant gentle rain of biological dust is known as marine snow. It is the primary source of sustenance for the deep-sea floor and the very material of future limestone. It is a soft, silent, eternal precipitation, a blizzard in ultra-slow motion, each flake a work of natural art, destined to become part of the planet's stony archive. Your thoughts, as you rest, can be like this marine snow, releasing, drifting slowly downward through the deep blue of your awareness, coming to rest on a soft, accepting floor. This process of gentle accumulation connects to one of the most soothing geological actions, the meander of a mature river. Far from its turbulent mountain source, a river on a plain begins to loop and curve. The water on the outside of a bend moves slightly faster, eroding the bank. On the inside of the bend, where the water slows, it drops its sediment. This creates a point bar, a growing, sloping beach of sand and gravel. Over centuries, the river's curve becomes more and more pronounced, until it almost forms a complete loop. Eventually, during a flood, the river may cut across the narrow neck of the loop, abandoning the meander. The old curve becomes an oxbow lake, a crescent-shaped body of still water, separated from the river's flow. It is a peaceful retirement for a piece of a river, a quiet, still water eddy, where the current's work is done, and all that remains is calm, reflective water, slowly filling with silt and becoming a wetland. The final gift of such a river, as it meets the sea, is the delta. A river carrying its burden of sediment slows dramatically upon encountering the standing water of the ocean. It has no more energy to carry its load, and so it must let it go. The sediment settles out, building a fan of land that extends the continent, grain by grain, into the water. A delta is not a solid wall, but a labyrinth of distributary channels, mudflats, and marshes. It is a place of profound fertility and constant, gentle change. It is the river's peaceful exhale, a sigh of sediment. It is where the journey of erosion finally ends and the work of creation begins. Land is built not by force, but by surrender, by the releasing of what has been carried for so long. We can find a similar soothing rhythm in the pulse of the tides, but on a scale so grand it becomes stillness. The gravitational tug of the moon and sun does not just lift the water, it flexes the solid earth itself. The planet's crust rises and falls gently with the passing tide, like the chest of a sleeping giant. This movement, called earth tide, amounts to mere inches. But it is a reminder that the entire globe breathes in this slow cosmic rhythm. You are resting on a surface that is, at this very moment, rising and falling in a cycle measured in hours, a gentle undulation you will never feel, but can trust is there. Even the hardest substances participate in this slow motion dance. Under constant, immense pressure deep within the earth, solid rock can flow. This is called creep. It is not melting, but a plastic, ductile deformation. Mountains, under their own weight, slowly spread outward like very thick honey. Glaciers of rock flow invisibly, their movement detectable only over millennia. This challenges our very idea of solidity. It reveals that everything, given enough time and gentle, constant pressure, will find a way to relax its form, to yield, to seek a lower, more stable state of being. This brings us to a humble yet profound material, shale. It begins as the finest of all sediments, clay and silt, settling in the stillest of waters. When compressed, it forms a rock that cleaves easily into thin, smooth sheets. This property is called facility. To split a piece of shale is to open a page. Each thin layer represents a moment of utter calm in the distant past, a season when the water was so still that only the finest particles could descend. Shale is the archive of tranquility, a library of forgotten calm, where every page is a testament to a world that was for a moment perfectly hushed. On a cosmic scale, the geology we rest upon is itself a gift of stellar patience. The silicon and oxygen in quartz, the iron in our core, the calcium in limestone, these elements were forged in the hearts of ancient stars. When those stars ended their lives in vast explosions, they scattered these elemental ashes across space. Over eons, this stardust coalesced, through gravity's gentle pull, into our planet. The very rock beneath you is recycled stardust, arranged by gravity and time into a haven for life. You are resting on the preserved memory of ancient suns. So let this universe of sleepy facts enfold you now. Let the slow flow of rock, the patient growth of crystals, the gentle settling of dust across cosmic and oceanic depths be the only narrative you need. Your breath is the tide. Your heartbeat is the slow seismic pulse. Your consciousness is the quiet cavern where beautiful, timeless forms take shape in the dark. There is no past to regret, no future to arrange. There is only this deep, present moment, supported by a planet that has mastered the art of moving with infinite slowness, a planet that knows, in its very bones, how to rest. All journeys in the Sleepy Facts universe end here. In the soft, welcoming embrace of the present, the facts dissolve, like the final grains of sand in an hourglass, into a pure and wordless feeling. The feeling of being held, the feeling of being part of something ancient, patient, and profoundly gentle. The story of stone is your story tonight, a story without conflict, a story of settling, of cooling, of finding the perfect angle of repose. Let the weight of the world beneath you bear the weight of everything. You have nothing left to carry, nothing left to solve, only to exist, as peacefully as a pebble in a riverbed, smoothed by the gentle passage of endless, soothing nights. The universe is not empty. It is full of rest. And now, you are part of it. Let go, and simply be